Okay, this week's top 2 stories are Aljamain Sterling's coach accusing the UFC of favoritism, and Israel Adesanya and Alex Pereira bump into each other at the airport in Australia. Let's get into it. UFC bantamweight champion Aljamain Sterling's coach, Ray Longo, is accusing the UFC of favoritism. Aljamain Sterling is looking at back-to-back title fights after he most recently beat Henry Cejudo by split decision on May 6th, and is now staring down the barrel at a fight against Sean O'Malley, with the fight booked for August 19 at UFC 292. This is one of the quickest turnarounds for a champion and got the attention of Sterling's coach Ray Longo, who recently spoke about favoritism within the UFC. Besides just how close the two fights are together, Aljamain was apparently also nursing a bicep injury coming into the Cejudo fight and will now have to cut weight again within a few months of draining his body to get to 135 pounds, which is seemingly becoming an issue for the fighter as he looks to head to 145 pounds with a win over O'Malley. Longo appears regularly on the Anik and Florian podcast and recently went on to discuss his bones of contention with how the UFC are handling their bantamweight champion, saying, "To me, in business and even down here, you know what people like? Consistency. Like if I come in here, everybody pays $200 a month, and then they're walking around the gym and someone says, no, he only charges me $75. That's not good, you know what I mean? It's got to be consistent." That's why I said we're given examples where it seems like favoritism almost, you know? I think it's the inconsistency of, well, Islam Makhachev hasn't fought in a year. Why are you forcing me to fight in 2 months? Like, that's where I have a problem. I like fairness, and I like the transparency of knowing everybody's going the same thing. Like if Dana wanted to turn everybody around every 2 months, then that's it. That's what you signed up for. This is their rules. It's their company. He built it up. He gets to call the shots. But to do one thing one time and not the other time, I think that's where it gets a little sticky for me. It is worth noting that Longo was actually incorrect in saying that current lightweight champion Islam Makhachev hasn't fought in a year. His last fight against Volkanovski was in February, and his fight before that in October. Nonetheless, do you see where Ray Longo is coming from? He is one of the most respected coaches in the UFC. So whether you agree or not, his words carry weight in the MMA community. If you think the UFC is trying to push Aljamain out of the picture for the more viral, friendly fighter O'Malley, let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you were on Instagram in the last 48 hours, you may have seen the shared stories between current middleweight champion Israel Adesanya and his longtime rival Alex Pereira, as they randomly bumped into each other in the airport coming into Australia. Here's the video shared on Adesanya's Instagram story. Whilst it seems like there was no bad blood between the two in their jovial posts, some believe that Poatan went on to troll Adesanya by attending a rugby event in Melbourne after Adesanya posted photos with another rugby team. Do you feel like these two are drumming up interest in a third MMA contest? Would you prefer to see another contender like Dricus du Plessis or Robert Whittaker get the shot instead? According to Israel Adesanya's head coach Eugene Behrman, if Robert Whittaker gets up against Dricus du Plessis, he thinks he does not deserve another title shot, saying recently in an interview, "We've fought him, and he's basically been in the ring one time since then. Whereas we've just been tracking on, so like, I don't know. We are who we are, just put the opponent in front of us and then we'll fight. I mean, our preference is not to fight Robert again because we've obviously already beaten Robert twice, and he hasn't really done anything since that loss to warrant him fighting again, so our preference would be the South African. But then the South African has to cross the line, and obviously he has a very tough opponent." Whilst it's true that Robert has only fought once since his last defeat to Israel Adesanya, that's not really his fault, considering Paulo Costa pulled out of their scheduled fight, and I feel like the way Robert beat Marvin was actually more impressive than Israel's performance against the Italian. With a win over Dricus du Plessis, it will be hard to deny the Reaper his dues for a third shot against the champ. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments. This week's tweet of the week comes from Nurmagomedov MMA and requires no introduction. Just watch and listen.
I wasn't happy on that because we were only there a couple of days and then...
Thanks for watching Undisputed MMA. Please like and subscribe as it helps me to dedicate more time to the channel, and hit the bell icon to keep up to date with the latest in MMA and the UFC.